OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Very good morning to you. Welcome along to Thursday morning's OTB AM. We're here with you every morning from 7:30 until 9:30. Where you can get us wherever you consume your social media. That's offtheball.com is probably the best place, to be honest. offtheball.com/radio if you want to just listen to us as a radio show. And of course we have our brand new radio station, OTB Sports Radio, available for your perusal all day, every day. And the best place to get that is on the Go Loud app. We've got a very busy show for you coming up. A little bit later on, we are going to hear from Wes Brown, who was in town yesterday, to promote the fact that you can get Virgin Sport on the Air Sports pack. Have a look at this. I don't know if you follow Rio Ferdinand on Instagram, but there was a funny little bit during the week where Gary Neville put something up about it was the team bus, and there was bright lights, and Gary's face looked a little bit like that, and there was the eyes emoji from Rio going, "Oh, you look just like you did on that couch alongside Roy Keane last week."
Yeah. I mean, we pretty much, a lot of the lads follow each other. We're still in a WhatsApp group, to be fair. So we all have a good laugh at it. But I mean,
did Roy's video make it to the WhatsApp group from last week?
Yeah, bits of it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, bits of it. Yeah. But listen, I mean, Keane was my captain for many years, and he's that sort of character, so you're going to get something special from him.
Yeah, we had a good night watching it. I don't know what it was like for you guys going,
yeah, the thing is, people obviously just dig out certain bits, but when you watch the whole thing, he talks a lot of sense.
Yeah. Wes Brown, obviously a fan of the Off the Ball Roadshow with Cadbury's from Burgos Energy Theatre last week. I think a lot of people were. Turns out millions and millions of people have watched that at this point. So if you missed what we're talking about, it was obviously at Valencia that Gary Neville was on the bus getting the flip the bird by the Valencia fans after, I think it was after the 7-0 against Barcelona. But anyway, so the Irish rugby team and we think Owen Sheehan have safely touched down in Tokyo. Before they left, Owen caught up with Rory Best. We'll play the full thing a little bit later on. Here's a snippet.
You mentioned boarding that plane this week. Joe, in his post-match press conference the last day, was talking about perhaps getting to a World Cup semi-final and what that would represent for Ireland given their previous record. Is that your current aim as well, to break that glass ceiling, to win a quarter-final this time?
I think for us, look, it ultimately, as a group, we want to keep doing things that no other Irish team has done, and I think that's obviously a massive one for us. But at the same time, we're under no illusions that this game against Scotland, unlike other World Cups I've played in, we are straight in at the deep end. We're playing the second highest ranked team in our pool first, and we know that we have to get off to a good start, so we have to concentrate on the first game, but it is about trying to create history for ourselves.
Yeah, we hope to hear from Owen at some point today, just to make sure that the travel was all right, but I'm sure it was grand. Instead of Owen, we've got John Duggan this morning. How are you?
Great, Jerry. Yourself? Good morning.
You're not in Tokyo. You didn't make the cut.
It's okay. I've been around the world. As Lisa Stansfield said, I've been to Rio, I've been to Russia. I'm okay to let somebody else get the glory.
There's tickets on my desk today for the women's football final on Sunday. We'll tell you how you can win those in just a couple of minutes' time. But John is here to help us go through the papers. We'll bring you exactly what's coming up on the show first. No, we won't. Okay, I'll do that a little bit later for you. So I'm going to start with the Sun this morning. Oh, we're going to do that in a minute. Yeah, so John's written his 6 of the best. We're going to get into that, the 6 best football matches he's ever seen. I'm going to start with the papers this morning first. Days since there's been a sick as a parrot headline, 0. There was one yesterday, there's one today. Should we just make an accommodation that there's going to be a sick as a parrot headline?
I haven't seen a pretty potty one, have you?
It's coming, I'm sure. You're giving them ideas there. And then the other one is Troy Story waiting on McCarthy. So this is the comments that we brought you yesterday about Mick McCarthy saying, look, he didn't actually start the game for Stephen Kenny, bear in mind. So why would I be picking him for the senior team? And
he'll put his banner in the works if he does pick him for the senior team, because they got Italy in Dublin.
Yeah, and we made this point yesterday. Kenny Cunningham was making the point that these are bigger games for him right now, rather than sitting on the bench, unless you intend to use him.
Yeah, or bring him on as an impact sub, but that hasn't happened for Tottenham yet. He hasn't made a competitive appearance for Tottenham. Also, McGoldrick obviously is in form. The bigger issue for Mick McCarthy, I think, is around the centre of the park. I think it's more important that, say, we make a decision around the likes of Josh Cullen than Troy Parrott.
Yeah.
Would be my view.
And should Cullen be playing in your view?
I think so, yeah. I think he should be.
Now,
yeah.
See, this is the bit where Mick
doesn't. Is this the shiny object?
Well, I think it's the bit where Mick has no future. Like, irrespective of what happens, if he had a future, you would think, well, maybe I'll take the risk here, and I know that I'm banking the credit with the style of play.
He's a project manager, unfortunately.
Exactly, yeah. Sorry, the other headline, in fairness, is not bad, is Cliodhna. Wings and players as Ireland take off. I don't get the wings and players reference.
No, I don't really get it either.
Yeah. All right, what have we got first?
Well, the Irish Examiner, sky's the limit. Tommy Martin battles giddy optimism out of Ireland's World Cup voyage. Also, not Paddy's Day. Kidney says protests did not keep Jackson out of Cork. This game at Musgrave Park tomorrow night, this friendly match. And then Big Brother Adam Brogan says Bernard deserves jersey for final. Hurrah. We have The Guardian. Fully focused, roots training to end the summer on a high. That's, of course, the Ashes, which England have already lost. Earn your Spurs. Mick tells Parish his next goal is to break into the Tottenham team, and once again, Bernard deserves a send-off. Alan Brogan on Bernard. But all these stories are really yesterday's stories. There's not much going on, folks.
The Indo this morning, their back page, if you have any optimism, don't worry, Neil Francis is here to come along and puncture it. He says, Ireland are high on optimism, light on leadership and short on depth. So there you go. And then Kingdom of Dublin's number. Cork legend Larry Tompkins believes that Kerry have room to improve in their bid to halt the drive for 5. And then McIlroy's Irish Open vow after earning top award. This is interesting from Brian Keogh. I don't think I'll miss the Irish Open for 2 years in a row. I saw that the dates changed to the end of May, it looks like, and if that's the case, I'll definitely make the trip. I'll definitely make the trip back over for that event. So that's a boost for whoever is going to be running the Irish Open next year.
I think Mount Juliet will probably get it. I couldn't imagine they wouldn't talk in a kind of a speculative way about May without it knowing that it's May. So I'd expect that Rory will turn up. Who will host it, I don't know.
Yeah, because there was some talk that Rory might have to be forced to take it back straight away.
It can't be Patrick Harrington. He got the Ryder Cup. There's too much on his mind, too much on his plate. But it's interesting that Rory won that. I think Alan Chupnock, the golf writer in the United States, had this lovely thing on his Twitter about the PGA Player of the Year, which Rory's just won, is PGA Tour players, a high school kids with private jets. And it was almost like a popularity contest.
Oh, it's totally a popularity contest.
And Rory won the popularity contest.
And so this is interesting because Rory wins it despite the fact that Brooks Koepka is the cold-eyed major winning killer. So if it's just a popularity contest, then maybe this point is moot. But maybe there's something else to it as well. Maybe the golfers understand that their main aim every year
is to make as much money
is to win the money
as possible.
They're professionals. They're not about winning baubles and trophies. They're about winning money.
Exhibitions, invites being brought over the world. And if Rory is bigging up the brand, as Tiger did, maybe that's part of the conversation.
The majors help. And obviously you win loads of money every time you win a major.
As a purist, Brooks Koepka all the way, wins the PGA, second at the Masters, second at the US Open, fourth in the Open. All the way Brooks Koepka on a purist basis. Now Rory did win the Players, he won the Tour, but who's going to remember that in 10 years' time? When all we think about Rory now, he might correct that in the next few years, but all we think about when he comes to 2019, flunked the Masters, flunked the Open at Portrush.
Yeah, I will remember that he was the richest man in golf this year as well. We've got some audio of him. This is the other thing that has come out of the papers today after he won the award. Just have a listen to this.
It's a bit of a rare occurrence that he would ask me to go for lunch, but I definitely didn't think it was to do with any of this. So to get the Jack Nicklaus trophy from the man himself is, I got goosebumps, and that, it was a complete surprise. I didn't know if I expected to win, or I felt like I had a chance, and I feel like I've played really well this year. But to get the trophy from Jack himself is really special.
That's Rory McIlroy talking about Jack Nicklaus. He was asked about the Masters next year. I think that's the difficulty is that we always. I certainly overreact every time I see Rory talking about the Masters, going, shut up, stop talking about it.
Well, it's September, and he's talking about it. Why are you talking about it?
Because he got asked about it. That's the thing. So he's in a press conference.
Say, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll talk about it at the press conference down Magnolia Lane in April. I'm not going to talk about it now. Who's the PR handler who's saying, we're not going to talk about the Masters? Put pressure on ourselves.
That's the thing. So don't force him into not talking about it, because then it's like, it's so in his head, he won't even talk about it. He's in a difficult spot when it comes to the Masters at this point, for now and forevermore. Sports Thursday, Brawley was like Marmite, but be careful what you wish for, is the headline over Mary Hannigan's piece talking about Joe Brawley being removed from the All-Ireland final day coverage on RTE. Everybody's switching over to Sky. Kerry must learn how to play the hunted is the headline on Eamon Donoghue's piece. We might get into that a little bit later on, but what's your take on Brawley, Joe? Or
well, he won't be watching
John?
Sky. He won't be watching Sky. I'm sure he'll be there.
Brawley, Joe. John.
It's funny that it was quite funny, the tweet he put out yesterday about needing a spare ticket now for the match.
I've been let down.
Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Joe Brawley's shtick, but to defend him, I think we do need to work in an entertainment industry. Sport is massive entertainment as well as insight and analysis, and it can't be bland. It has to be entertaining and insightful. Joe Brawley is an All-Ireland winner. He's got strong opinions on the game and strong opinions on the Gaelic Athletic Association, and I think that sometimes he does overstep the mark. I think the Marty thing wasn't great, but I think he did, show contrition around that, and I think he should be on the panel. And I think it's with all these things, what are you going to gain by having Joe Brawley off the panel?
Well, apart from this week's notoriety, you get to be the man who got rid of Joe Brawley.
No, but what from a coverage point of view, what do you have to gain without him on the panel? I can understand from the soccer point of view that they might want to move things on a little bit with Duffer, with say Richie Sadlier and Liam Brady and that, and Eamon and John are gone. But Joe Brawley's only 50. I think there's plenty of legs.
There's plenty of legs in
Brawley. But there's also he wrote a brilliant article about the Dubs on the day of the first game against Kerry in the front page of the Indo. Absolutely on the money, spot on about how great this team are. So that is somebody who's completely in sync and knows exactly what's going on. He's heavily involved in the game, and I think he should be on the panel. I don't necessarily buy into what he's about. Sometimes it can be a bit pantomime, but it's entertainment. We're not into... Look, we can all do our stats. We can all read our papers the next day. We generally have our own opinions on the game anyway. I don't really see... I see somebody who's very opinionated and very strong in his opinions and sometimes can be Marmite, but I do think he has the courage of his convictions, and I don't really see a pantomime contrivance to Joe Brawley.
Yeah. All right, I would tend to agree with you. Much better with him on than off. And then big headline in the back of the Star this morning, Tribe hunt Davy. This is an exclusive from Kieran Cunningham, who says, Galway are lining up a shock move for Davy Fitzgerald as their new hurling manager. Fitzgerald has a strong relationship with Joe Canning, he says, who he coached at UL. And Canning in the past has gone public on his respect for the Clareman. Obviously, Paul Gavin was ratified as the new Wexford football manager on Tuesday night. And there are reports, certainly I think Wexford are relatively confident that Davy is coming back. I've spoken to a couple of the Wexford hurlers socially recently, and they've certainly made their pitch to Davy to come back for next year.
I haven't seen that story anywhere else. I think the question for Davy is, has he taken Wexford as far as they can go, or can they go another step?
Yeah,
they were very close to win you think about it, they were quite close to win the All-Ireland this year.
If you're Galway, though, getting somebody from outside who isn't part of the politics in Galway...
Well, Gerard Loughnane didn't work, and he was an All-Ireland winning.
It didn't, but Loughnane and Davy are very different characters.
They are, yeah.
You know? Loughnane also didn't have Joe. Davy would have Joe Canning.
Galway, I would think, have more potential than Wexford in the 2020 championship.
That's funny, because I think that if Davy goes back to Wexford, I don't think Wexford are done at all. I think that they're rising, they're cresting now, and certainly chatting to a couple of them, that's what they think, and they're right to think that, because the goal that they scored against Tip, and the fact they had Tip on the rack in a way that nobody else had. Well, obviously Limerick decimated them in the game, but ultimately that was shadowboxing. This was in knockout hurling. Wexford had them on the rack. What Kilkenny would give to be able to do that to Tipperary.
Yeah, and that never seemed like it was going to happen in the final. I don't think it will happen next year for Kilkenny. I would say you have to think Wexford are ahead of Kilkenny.
Yeah.
I think it's Wexford and Galway, the best two teams in Leinster, and Limerick and Tipperary, the best two teams in Munster. I would be surprised if it happened, I'd have to say. I'd be very surprised if Davy went to Galway.
It would be huge, but you must be...
But it just show, Liam Sheedy is not going to coach outside of Tip. Brian Cody's not going to coach outside of Kilkenny. John Colley's not going to coach outside of Limerick. Is he really?
So, do you think?
Isn't Davy Davy's the hottest property of, say, the floating coaches?
Yeah, I wonder, would Derek McGrath like he's obviously
Is Davy hotter than Derek McGrath? I think he would be.
I don't know. I think if you're any of those teams who have decided that you want to play a possession-based game, then and your county board is progressive, then Derek McGrath would be an amazing appointment. I think Derek McGrath would be an amazing Kilkenny manager at some point down the line, but obviously it's never going to happen.
Eddie Brennan, Henry Shefflin.
It's never going to happen. I get that it's definitely not going to happen.
It's a lot of people want to wear that throne. A lot of princes in Kilkenny.
Yeah, exactly. But he would be amazing. It could just be the type of thing that they need to kick on, because it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens in the power struggle for the direction of the game. Like,
yeah, the way the game is played.
The Times, this is an interesting story. Zaha dumps agent over failed move. I mean, if you're Palace this morning, you're waking up and you're going, oh, he's definitely very happy he's still here. No, look at his performances in training. He's showing up, he's arriving on time, it's all great. And it's like Zaha sacks his coach, sacks his agent, going, oh, you had one job. Get me out of here.
It's very funny.
One job.
I always read, I read a lot about film, and, they didn't, he sacked his agent for not getting Star Wars, or he turned down Star Wars, and the agent turned it down. He didn't even know about it, and then he sacked the agent. And then all these careers that didn't go the way they should have gone.
This is one of them.
And Wilfred Zaha might be another one, but you should know, agents. I'm not the biggest fan of agents.
I think that Zaha's going to get his move. I think that sooner rather than later. This transfer window or the next transfer window, Wilfred Zaha's getting the hell out of Crystal Palace.
We've got the Irish Daily Mail. It's Joe time. Schmidt must get out onto the semis, says Tommy Bowe. And also Parrott cool but perched to strike. About Troy Parrott. Won't let any delay in joining the senior team ruffle his feathers. And the Tottenham team says he respects Mick McCarthy's right to keep him waiting. We also have the Telegraph. End of the world. Cipriani, Hartley and Brown on left behind by Jones. This is for the England Rugby World Cup squad for Japan.
Yeah. So they all did separate press yesterday. It was almost like a concerted effort to get their story out the same day. So I don't know, is it to try and... So Mike Brown says he's still the best fullback. Then what happened, Mike?
Well, he had a bit of an altercation.
Yeah, so give us the details, Mike.
We don't really know.
You lost your World Cup chance because you got in a row.
Yeah, with Ben Teo, yeah.
Not because you're not the best.
Yeah.
Hartley was injured, just didn't get back to form.
Yeah.
A bit like Dev. And who's the last one? Cipriani. He had a good line.
Also in the pecking order behind Farrell and Ford.
Yeah. And said he'd have to be able to turn water into wine. So basically he needs to be Jesus Christ to get in.
Well, what wine? Rioja, Malbec,
something good.
Merlot.
I guess it would have to be some Middle Eastern wine, given the region. I've never tried Middle Eastern wine. It's funny how wine's such a big deal for... anyway. We can say that for the religion show. John has done 6 of the best, his latest 6 of the best. This is where he picks 6 things about a sport, personality or moment that we love. This week, it's Gaelic football. So you've picked 6 of the best games you've ever seen.
Yes.
Do you have to have been at the games?
No, you don't. Also, context is important. I don't think it's necessarily always about quality. It's about context, meaning, significance, a trophy on the line.
I agree with you. I saw a lot of people going, that wasn't a classic because there was... Have you watched back any of the football from the 80s, 90s?
Yeah. Seamus Darby.
It's rubbish.
Quality
is rubbish.
Yeah, a great finish, exciting. It's not the most exciting matches. If it's 6 is the most exciting, Stephen Cluxton, 2011's in there, but it's not in my 6.
And the thing, before everybody goes, the quality wasn't rubbish. The quality was as good as it could have been, but it's not as good as, they're not as fit as the most mediocre club teams are in senior football in most counties now. The thing is, time moves on, and mistakes will happen because it ain't ballet.
Yeah.
I thought last week's game was really good.
Yeah, it was really good because I think the players understood the magnitude that was on the line, and it was very, very tense.
Claustrophobia.
You can sense, you can sense things, and I sensed tension. That's the biggest emotion I felt was tension.
Yeah,
throughout the whole.
I have never been as tense at a sports event.
And you're neutral.
The Ireland All Blacks game when they win. When they win in the last minute, I remember getting up and there was literally a pain in my side from sitting on the edge of my seat for that game because we scored early and it looked like we were going to win.
It was the clock ticking and the clock just ran out for us.
And ultimately, that was a November international. It wasn't a World Cup. There was nothing on the line beyond that team getting some kind of deliverance. For this, though, it's a moment in all-time Gaelic football history, all-time GAA history.
135 years. That's why I wrote the article.
Irrespective of what happens.
I think the build-up has been too quiet. No, there's a lot in the papers, but maybe, I don't know, what 3 plays, people are tuning out a bit or whatever. I think by the time you get to Saturday at 6, it'll be back on and everybody will be invested. But the reason I wrote it, because I don't think there's been enough said about the huge magnitude. Like, I'm a Dub and I'm big into sports history, but I remember even being hyper and buzzed the night before the drawn game about like how big a day this is in Irish sport and how big a day Saturday will be. So I've written an article about the best 6 games I've seen, because people sometimes slag off Gaelic football. I mean, the images that are conjured to me are like Micko, Sean Boylan, the size of the cup, that kind of thing. But also this constant, what about the future of the game? Where's the game going? Well, actually, sometimes you get classic games, and most of the games that I'd be referring to have been in the last 15 years. So,
to talk us down.
Number 6, Kerry Tyrone, 86 All-Ireland final. I was 7. It was the last hurrah for Micko's team, their 8th and final run from 75 to 86. Tyrone had them on the ropes, but then Pat Spillane and Mikey Sheehy scored 1-4 apiece. That was number 6. So I just remember catching the fag end of that as a young embryonic sports fan. Number 5, Meath. Breaking my heart in 1991, Leinster first round, 4th game. Dublin should have won all 4, but they didn't.
Ger Canning's voice breaking.
The best ever radio commentary I've ever heard, Micheál Marhershig's commentary of that, which is on YouTube. And then David Beggy kicked it over, and I wanted Nightmare on Elm Street to actually happen to me. I wanted the ground to swallow me up, but it didn't, so I'm still here. Number 4, Down Derry, 94 Ulster quarter final. The real epitome to me of what knockout football was about. Before, obviously, players deserve second chances. Derry won the All-Ireland the previous year. It was in May. Mickey Linden was a wizard, and they edged Derry in the end down, and Derry never won another All-Ireland since.
Yeah.
Number 3, the classic that I thought Dublin and Kerry was in 2013. Dublin win by 7, but Kerry had them in trouble for a lot of the game. Colm Cooper was a quarterback, a playmaker. They scored 3 goals inside the first 20 minutes, but Dublin just kept in there. Kerry were still ahead, 68th minute, but then Kevin McManamon and Owen O'Gara. Dublin's...
I don't remember what happens after McManaman's goal.
It just got another one. Signature of Dublin in the last few years has been their devastating bursts, and that was a real example in Jim Gavin's first season.
Yeah, it feels like this is kind of the birth of the new team. And
yes.
I suppose it is, because obviously it is Gavin's first season, but they weren't, under Pat Kilroy, they were strangling teams and winning just about.
Yeah, just about. And this was, as you say, the biggest game since 77, really, when they talk about classics for Dublin Kerry. Number 2, Tyrone Kerry, 2005. Best 2 teams in the noughties. I would say Tyrone were the better team, though, because they beat Kerry in all 3 All-Irelands that they won.
I think we all agree with that. The only person who doesn't normally sits there.
And he's in Japan now. 04 and 06, Kerry won the All-Ireland, but I just remember Tyrone, waves and waves. I felt like it was helicopters.
So which game is this?
This is the final in 2005. I think both teams were at their peak around that time. There's when Peter Canavan slipped in the goals before half-time.
That goal, there's a brilliant behind the goals camera angle of it, where you can see his Muggsy's movement, where he just takes defenders and the goalkeeper a couple of steps the wrong way and gives it back to Canavan.
Almost like a really top goal in professional football, soccer.
The way the ball barely moves, it just curls into the corner. It's class.
Into the corner. Tyrone, then Tomás O'Shea gallops up the field, scores a goal, but I just remember the waves and waves of Tyrone coming. And of course they did it for Cormac, which is very sad. Cormac McAnadon had passed away just a year before. But my number 1, now I'm a Dub, so people might be thinking I'm biased here, and they might have different views on Off the Ball on our social channels, at Off the Ball on Twitter, or John Duggan Sport. But the best game I've ever seen, and if Dublin go on to win on Saturday, this will be the fulcrum moment. This will be the clinching moment for me. When they won 3 in a row in 2017, Mayo have lost 9 All-Ireland finals since 51. I was around Mayo people at the game in the Lower Cusack, and when Lee Keegan put that ball in the net, I felt this was it for Mayo. I was kind of really, really worried. But Dublin, in the last 10 minutes, with the Cluxton kickouts malfunctioning, did not make one single mistake. They had to play the ball out of defence slowly. Dermot Connolly and James McCarthy were sensational. And then it got to the stage where Cliodhna O'Connor hits the post, 6 minutes into stoppage time. Dean Rock gets the free, and he puts it over the bar. And as somebody who was an obsessive Dublin fan in the late 80s, early 90s as a young lad, I kind of fell out of love with Dublin for 2 reasons. First of all, become a journalist, become kind of, impartial and cynical. Second of all, I didn't like the vibe. I've just finished that book, The Chaos Years. I just read it, I finished it in 2 days, about Dublin. I didn't like the vibe of them, the kind of the swagger, the lack of confidence really that
bullshit.
they had. Yeah, the nonsense. But this was the moment when I said, just as you actually referred to this interestingly early in this conversation, the All Blacks. I was distraught when the All Blacks beat Ireland in 2013, but a friend of mine spoke to me on the phone. He says, no, this is champion. these are champions. They did not make one mistake in that move to get that try.
Yeah.
And then they took the retake and conversion, which they put over. Dublin did not make one mistake in the last 10 minutes of that game, and they won the final by a point. And Mayo might be taking a while to come back after that.
John, it's a great piece. 6 of the best is up on offtheball.com now for people to peruse. You can hit us up on Twitter with your own thoughts of and corrections, indeed.
Yes, corrections. Lots of Kildare games in there. Kildare, 1998.
97, the Kildare Meath game. The drawing game was amazing. It was 223 to 320, I think, or maybe it was 220 to 317. It was an
2000
amazing game.
replay against the Dubs. Tyke Fennon, wasn't it?
Yeah. 2 goals in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
They were classics. Right, it's 7:56 this morning. Plenty more coming for you on OTB AM. Right about 9 o'clock this morning, former Dublin goalkeeper Cliodhna O'Connor is going to join us in studio to look ahead to the All-Ireland Women's Football Final on Sunday. It's Dublin against Galway. We have 2 pairs of tickets to give away this morning. To enter, just share the show wherever you're watching or listening to OTB AM and tell us who Dublin beat in the 2018 final. So who did Dublin beat in the 2018 final? We're back talking David Myler, Rory Best and Wes Brown after these.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes but for you in the community. Check out our amazing offers for families with kids camps, sport academies and birthday parties. Or for adults, why not join our gym with a 50-metre pool? Or your club, school, friends can book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, soccer, basketball or badminton courts and many more. Check us out on sportirelandcampus.ie.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In-store, online and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
OTB AM.
All right, so you're very welcome back to OTB AM this morning. Wherever you are consuming us, we're glad to have you with us. You can get us youtube.com/offtheball or twitter.com/offtheball. You can follow us there. At offtheball AM is the other Twitter handle that we use for this show as well. Now, David Myler was in for a brilliant, wide-ranging interview last night with Joe, and it's great stuff. We'll play a couple of clips from it here. Here he is talking about what it's like to captain Ireland.
I've probably never been more pumped up for one game. And like the lads even still talk to me about it, like kind of going, oh, geez, I remember your speech.
Do you remember what you said, or was it how you said it?
I think it came from the heart. Like it came, like, you know, like there was a bit of swearing about them. Do you know what I mean? This isn't about them, it's about us. Do you know what I mean? They're standing in our way to like what we want to achieve. You know, a bit more explicit stuff, but
sure, of course, yeah. That was the message.
It comes out like, and you know, I was shaking, and like obviously as you're in, I'm shaking. The boys can feel like, you know, but like they knew I was ready for whatever was in front of me. Like if there was a wall, I was going through it. Like there was nothing, and like, you know, people talk about the Denmark game, like and this is the God's honest truth. The hardest thing for me was looking at Seamus after. Because I'm really close to Seamus, and I have
the 5-1 game. Yeah.
Because God's honest truth, I wanted to get that World Cup, not for me, but for Seamus.
Why Seamus?
Because it's about the type of fella he is, everything about him. Like, I admire him, and I played with him since he was under 21 or whatever. But I just admire the man, and I like everything about him. Like, he is the perfect role model. He's like, I have a daughter. He's the kind of fella you'd want your daughter to bring home. He's that, like, he's top of the range, like, and I really wanted to get to the World Cup for him, to watch him lead Ireland out. As weird as, like, people might say, oh, but that's like, that's our friendship and how, like, you know, that's how I think of him, because he is, like, I was gutted for him, you know.
Yeah, David Myler, you can imagine being in the changing room watching David Myler make a speech and go, let's go do this. It's a pity that he didn't actually play a bit more for Ireland. Certainly whenever he did play, he played really well. So look, the interview is massively wide-ranging. It's an hour long, and this next clip doesn't do full justice to the topic. Really, he's talking about playing for Ireland just hours after learning that his wife had had a miscarriage. So have a look at this.
The night Seamus broke his leg, my wife had a miscarriage that morning.
Oh my God. Right.
And I knew James McCarthy might be struggling. And Martin said, you might be starting because James is struggling.
Had she phoned you and you were over in Ireland?
Yeah.
Right.
So I laugh about it now, but at the time there was no laughing matter. She obviously, it happened naturally, so I don't want to go into too much detail, but
don't.
Like ambulances had to come to the house, so she's ringing me. I'm in Ireland. I'm in the hotel, like trying to prepare for a game. So then she gets rushed to hospital. Luckily enough, now I've a pair of neighbours across the road, Graham and Sue, amazing people, came over, minded my little girl. Then Curtis Davis and his wife came, because Callie was really good friends with Laura. She came to mind Alana, because Alana's like familiar with her and whatever.
Yeah.
So Callie was in the hospital and she was off the walls, and her mum had to come over. So it was kind of like, what do I do?
I mean, you must think I've got to go. Or did you know I'm not going?
I can't say I didn't know I was going. I spoke to my father. Father said, you have to go. It's your wife, like, it's your family, you have to go. And then Martin, I went and spoke to Martin. Martin says, you have to go. And then as the time went by, like, it just became like, when can I get there? And this is the God's honest truth, is when can I get there? I wouldn't have gotten there. Like, she was rushed into hospital about 11:30, 12 o'clock. I wouldn't have gotten there till about like 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, so obviously that is just a short section of a 10-minute part where he talks about the impact of the miscarriage. And look, I think it's a great thing that people are starting to talk about miscarriages, because it's definitely one of those things that most people don't talk about. And as a society, we need to get a bit better about it, because it happens to loads of people. It's a fairly natural part of most people's lives as parents or trying to become parents. So the fact that David Myler is talking openly about it, I think, is just a very positive thing. So hats off to him for opening that conversation and being so open in this studio about it with Joe last night. So if you haven't seen that, it's worth getting out and digging out for you. You can get it on all of our YouTube channels. You can get it on offtheball.com/podcast. The whole thing is up as an individual podcast. It's basically an hour long. As I said, those short clips don't do that piece justice now. It is 3 minutes past 8 this morning on OTB AM, the Sports Breakfast Show here from Off the Ball. Before they jetted off for Japan, Irish rugby captain Rory Best joined Owen Sheehan for a chat. They didn't jet off together, you have to say that. Rory is working with Specsavers and tackling the stigma associated with hearing loss in their Don't Suffer in Silence campaign. Have a look.
All right, I'm delighted to say that Ireland rugby captain Rory Best now joins us on the line. Good morning to you, Rory. How are things?
Good, thank you. How are you? I'm
very well, thanks. Let's start by talking about the weekend just gone. It's an unusual one because it's a send-off, but at the same time, it's the start of something. What are the emotions like at the moment?
Look, I think it's nice to be getting on the plane on Wednesday with a reasonably clean bill of health for us. Come off the back of a win, a performance that we're a lot happier with, and we have been in the past couple of games. So ultimately, it's like you said, the start for us. We need to keep getting better, and ultimately, in Sunday week will be where we'll really be tested. But I think in terms of getting on to playing with a little bit of confidence, we've put that.
In terms of your own personal send-off then, your last game at the Aviva Stadium, Joe Schmidt's last game as head coach at the Aviva Stadium, what was that like, the reception you got from the fans?
Okay, it was great. I think you always, when you get to a certain point in your career, you kind of want to make sure you leave on your own terms and leave at the top, and to be able to do that and to get the reception I got coming off is, I think for me personally it was lovely, but I think more so for my family and my friends, and everyone was there for them to see how the supporters kind of hold me. It was very special for them too. So I was, I suppose, surprised, but very much delighted with the reception that I got and the noise in the stadium.
When you talk about being happier with the Ireland performance at the weekend, it's obviously been an interesting couple of weeks. The England game was something that would have drawn a lot of criticism for the team as a whole. If you talk about the happiness that you had at the weekend with that performance, just how disappointed were you with that performance with England? Or did you say to yourselves, listen, we're a week behind in our preparations compared to England and there's a bit to go yet?
We sort of knew we were a couple of weeks behind England. They'd come off the back of of those two tough games against Wales. And if you look where we are now, having played two tough games, even before that Wales game at the weekend, at this level, it makes a big difference. And said that there were aspects of it that you'll give a little bit of leeway because the first game of the season, but there were lots of aspects of it that just weren't acceptable by our standards. We knew we needed to address that. We weren't panicking in any shape or form, but at the same time, it is hugely frustrating to feel at this level playing for a country that you get embarrassed that way. And we kind of have to be honest with ourselves in terms of where we were after that game, where we were in the build-up of that game, and probably last Six Nations as well. And we, kind of sometimes you need a real sort of kick just to realise exactly where you are, and you can't go through a World Cup campaign with the attitude of it'll be fine next week, and sometimes you need, I think it would have been nice of having such a hard kick, but ultimately you need something like that to spark into life.
For sure. Like in terms of you personally then, I know it's always a little bit harsh when it comes to line-out criticism. The hooker always gets blamed. I guess when you're captain as well, the captain often takes a bit of the brunt. And I guess from your own point of view at that point, did you feel that there was a bit too much criticism of you? Like what was it like inside the camp? Were there questions asked of you as starting hooker at that point?
I think that ultimately the biggest critics are ourselves, and I wasn't happy with the way I played. I wasn't happy with how the lineouts went. I wasn't happy, obviously, with from a captaincy how the team went. But I think within the camp, we were still confident as to what we could put together. We knew that wasn't us, and look, I think that there's a lot of kind of knee-jerk reactions one way or the other. And when you after the England game that we weren't as bad as maybe was being reported we were, and that's individually and collectively, but we're also acutely aware now after the Wales game of the weekend that we're probably not as good as or not in a place where we want to be, where some of the stuff has been reported. So look, we need to stay somewhere in the middle. We need to keep trying to get better, and I think that it was a bit of a shock to us all. I don't think in a green jersey. It's been a long time since I've been involved in such a heavy loss with the standards we set, and look, we knew we needed to regroup, but I think that's the biggest test of a team and of a leadership group and of an individual is how you can respond to that, because there are going to be setbacks over the next couple of months. If you want to get to where we want to get to in the World Cup, we're going to have to be able to adapt and cope when curveballs are thrown at us, and that was quite a big one a couple of weeks ago, and I think we've come back stronger, but we need to keep getting better.
It's interesting. Like I'm sure in the build-up to the game against Wales the weekend, everything was close to perfect. I guess you guys knew in the camp that a good performance was coming. At the same time, despite all your experience, despite the fact you probably put in a really good week, when the first two line-out balls go a little bit astray, are you thinking to yourself, "Oh God, not again"?
Well, I think you have to sort of take them into. We knew that Wales, they have a good line of defence. We kind of, with where we are at the stage of the season, there's another change around in personnel in there, and you've got to give that a bit of time. And I think from my point of view, from the mental side of it, you got to realise that I was happy with the way they were both thrown, and sometimes teams guess right. Sometimes we don't get it perfect, and you just got to move on. And that was one of the lessons from England, is that we allowed the loss of the line-outs, and actually the first game against England was one of our best that we've had. We won up nice and clean off the top, and off we went, and then it was the next one. But we allowed that to dominate the game, and that was something we said about, and Joe had said to me that he played when he was coaching with Leinster. They lost the first 6 line-outs, but we're still leading against a good side. He couldn't remember who, by 20 points. And he said that that's the sort of thing that we've got to get better at. It's got to be, it can't allow one area of the game that isn't going exactly how you like it to dominate the rest of it. And that was kind of our switch mentality, that I felt that they were thrown quite well. They got up, they guessed, they stole them, it happened. But how can we react to the next moment? Both times we defensively went back at them and tried to get the ball back, and I think that's where you've got to be. And we just had a bit of a calm down, and I think against England, again, we probably just were a little bit naive. We just kept trying to go to the same generic call, because that was kind of what we said. We didn't want to show too much against England. And whereas against Wales, we had our full line-out menu. We said, after England said, look, right, we go in with a line-out menu that's going to win ball, not a generic one to not show things. And obviously with James in there, we were able to stop and go, right, well, look, we know that we thought that those two would work. They didn't because they guessed them. But we know we have a couple of other options that we feel will work. Let's just go to them.
Right.
He was very good.
That's very interesting, Rory. So basically, there was the notion that Ireland were keeping a lot back against England was true, and Wales resembled more your plan A in that department.
Yeah, well, we sort of took it a bit more like I wouldn't say that the stuff we held back against England with the way we played would have made any difference. But certainly there was a little bit more of we need a generic game plan that we follow, whereas Wales was very much well, look, this is what will work, and then that would be the way we had planned for most internationals, and I think that's just the way it's got to be. You've got to make sure that ultimately what you hold back against the team, the benefit of that is very much outweighed by the fact that the conference took an absolute smashing after England, whereas now, okay, we showed a little bit to Scotland, but we get on the plane on Wednesday with a little bit more confidence that we had after last week's game, and I think that we're in a lot better place from having the confidence that we can, we are playing well as a team.
Last question, Rory. I know you're pushed for time. Like you mentioned, boarding that plane this week. Joe, in his post-match press conference the last day, was talking about perhaps getting to a World Cup semi-final and what that would represent for Ireland, given the previous record. Is that your current aim as well, to break that glass ceiling, to win a quarter-final this time?
I think for us, look, it ultimately, as a group, we want to keep doing things that no other Irish team has done, and I think that's obviously a massive one for us. But at the same time, we're under no illusions that this game against Scotland, unlike other World Cups I've played in, we are straight in at the deep end. We're playing the second highest ranked team in our pool first, and we know that we have to get off to a good start, so we have to concentrate on the first game, but it is about trying to create history for ourselves.
Rory, very best of luck at the World Cup. Thanks a million for taking the call.
Great. Thank you. Cheers.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
I'll tell you a good story. I went to Champions League final.
Which one? I'm delighted to say Wes Brown is with us. Wes, good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, good.
What are you up to these days?
Oh, quite a bit. Doing a little bit of coaching the kids. Work a lot for Man United still. So keeping busy.
The coaching kids thing is always interesting. It's like, do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be a coach down the line, or is this actually that's the level of football that you have the appetite for?
No, honestly, I would probably down the line maybe like to teach older kids. Adults, yes, I suppose so, but at the moment it's good to get a little bit of experience with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Do you like football, having been a professional footballer for 20 years?
Love football.
It's an unusual question, but sometimes people are like, yeah, there was definitely a period there where I still love it, but you're still mad into it.
Loved it, even at the end, especially at the end of Sunderland, when I knew wasn't really fit enough anymore, especially with my knees, to play on. I still carried on for a good 2 more years, and just because I love it, I love the lads, the changing room, everything that comes with it. So that's definitely what I miss. But I still watch football. I know a lot of players that will disagree and say they just did it as a job, but for me it was everything. It
never became just a gig.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it's maybe how we grew up as well, a little bit. It was something. I mean, my mum and dad would always used to tell me that I always had a ball from the age of maybe 2 or 3. One of them fly-away balls that you buy from Blackpool Pleasure Beach or something. But it's something, I've always wanted to do. And then when you do get there, YTS, and you see the change room and the lads, and you understand that you're a group of players that are trying to, make it into this first team, that it's what I've wanted to do all the time.
You made it at Man United quite young, isn't that right?
Yeah, I made my debut at 18.
Right. A lot of pressure, or kind of too young to understand that there's a lot of pressure involved?
Probably too young. If I'm being honest, I remember watching it the year before, thinking, wow, how am I going to compete and play with these guys? When you're watching stuff on the telly, when you're like 16, 17. But yeah, the manager put me in with the first team squad about 17. and he trusted me. He didn't put too much on me. You know, he just told me to relax and do what I do. And then gradually put me in, which I thought was fantastic. Nerve-wracking, but fantastic.
Yeah, what of that period stands out for you now when you think back about it?
My debut, I mean, I remember training the year before, and I was training against the likes of Mark Hughes, for instance.
Big man.
Oh my God! And I was a tall, skinny, fast kid.
I was watching some video footage of him yesterday that was doing the rounds on Twitter. Like, he's just barreling into people. It's all
got the biggest legs I've ever seen. Him and Unsworth, David Unsworth. But I remember the ball coming over, and I was pretty good in the air at the time, you know, for my age group. So I'm thinking I'm going to win it. Steps across, I go flying. He brings it down on his knee, chest, and you always that when he always sort of brings it down on his chest. Turns out, lays it off, and I remember that day thinking, "Wow, I'm never going to make it." But it's just a learning curve, and you know, you gradually learn how to deal with that. But you know, the gaffer trusted me, and he put me in the end.
The end of a period of time, and we'll come back to some of the Man United stuff in a minute, but the end of leaving a club that you've come through, is that a trauma when it happens? That, like, not that you don't go on and have a good time at Sunderland, but this was the biggest club in the world when you're coming through. I
think it was harder for me because I've never been anywhere else. I'm from Manchester. That was my home club. Never had to go into digs or anything like that. I just stayed at home. I mean, I lived with my mum and dad for a good 3 years while I was playing for Man United.
Right.
So it was very easy in that sort of sense, and it was it was a little bit difficult in the sense that, I mean, I was 31, I'm a grown man, and I've now got to leave the club that I've loved. I was there since a kid and come through, won many trophies with him, and now I've got to leave. You know, I didn't know it was time.
You didn't think it was?
No, I thought it was.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't playing. The gaffer brought in some different players. He brought in Chris Smalling, he brought in the twins, Fabio and Rafa from Brazil, and my knee wasn't holding up as good as it was, so I'd have to miss a few games. And, you know, when you're playing at that level, you know it's not acceptable. You know, you have to be 100% all the time, ready to go. And I think the injuries started to catch me up a little bit because I had them very early on, 2 cruciates.
Is there a conversation that happens?
Yeah, it's weird because I know the conversation is, listen, and I'm just like, boss, it's fine. I understand. I mean, I had a year left, so I could have stayed, but I knew I wasn't going to play at all. And half of me saying stay just for that 1 year. But
in case it comes right, in case something better happens, or just to get as much time as you can?
I don't think I would have played anyway, but at the same time, you still want to play. And then obviously Sunderland come in, and it was funny at the time because the same sort of things was happening with John O'Shea.
Yeah.
So we've had a little chat, and I remember Sunderland wanted both of us at the time, so we was like, yeah, okay, it's time to go. And great time, we'll never forget it, but it's time to go. And I always remember signing a day before him, but we were supposed to sign on the same day, and I've signed, and I'm phoning him up asking him where he is, and he's like, I'm not sure if I'm coming, which
no way,
absolutely killed me, but for whatever reason he come and signed the next day.
Right,
so
okay.
I'm not going to lie, it made it so much easier.
Yeah.
Someone who you also grew up with going with you. But Sunderland was a great club, great fans.
If he hadn't signed, you would never have forgiven him.
Not at all.
That's like hang on, we're doing this.
Phone, but no, I'm only joking. No, he's a good lad. He's probably my best mate, and we've had some great times and some tough times together playing football. Coming
out of that, then there's just familiarity. It's like kids going to first day of school, having somebody from play school together. I mean, it's not quite the same analogy, but you know what I mean. It's like at least there's a familiar face.
It was a little bit different because I'm guessing the lads, we were very respected in the sense that we was at Man United and we won quite a lot. So we sort of had to step up onto the take the reins a little bit. Obviously, John he became captain in the end, but it was John and Lee Cattermole at the time. We become very respected, and we tried to sort out any issues with something was going on in the change rooms or whatsoever. But
did you enjoy that part of your career then in a way that you didn't?
It was good. I'll tell you why it was good, because every time, except for the first season, we was in a relegation battle. And I look back now and say, obviously I'm gutted that we was in that position, but the experience was fantastic because I've seen one side of it.
Yeah.
Where every season you know you're challenging for the championship and the other trophies, and then you go to Sunderland where you're pretty sure after the second season we don't make any more signings, we're going to struggle again. So just to stay on top of that and keep the lads together, which is difficult part of the game to do.
I think one of the things that everybody wants in life is to feel alive, and in a relegation battle the whole club feels alive because they know they're playing for themselves and they're playing for the town, they're playing for their family, they're playing for their career. It's a mad situation, but I'm sure there's no boring days in training.
No, it's not. I mean, there's dips. It can go one way or the other. There'd be times when you'd be getting beat every week, and that's hard because then you've got to get the lads up. You've somehow get the point across that we've got to start doing it this way, that way, without sort of picking on anyone, because that's what the lads don't like. They don't like, pointing out certain things.
If only the midfielders would offer us a little bit of cover here, then
and
maybe
when you start
some
saying
goals.
Names, it gets even worse. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to deal with that, but ultimately we had a good bunch of lads, and I think that always helps, who pretty much got on with each other. I'm not saying they were best friends outside of the pitch, but they pretty much got on with each other, and we understood that this is what we want to do, and to do it we were all just going to have to put our hands up and be honest and get out whatever needs getting out. If you've got anything against someone else, just get it out.
Yeah.
And then when we get on the pitch, we're all there again. So ultimately it worked, but again we was doing this for 4 years.
Yeah, that has to be to your credit as a person and in the bank for the rest of your life, is that you didn't just sit out and play out your string at Manchester United and then retire or whatever, or hang around or take another job at the club. Like, you went off and you decided, actually, I'm going to find out about myself. What am I like as a man in these circumstances?
I went at a different time. Obviously, I was a little bit older, but at the same time, it was good to try something new, a different experience. I eventually went abroad as well, which I thought was excellent, just to experience that side of it. I went to India for 7 months. That's can't even explain it to you. Completely different.
How did that come about?
Well, Rennie Mullenstein was the head coach who used to coach me, obviously Man United,
right.
And he took me, Berbatov, over there, and I thought it was a fantastic experience. It's something that I probably would never do again, but it just shows you the different types of football and situations people play all over the world.
Yeah, and it's always good to experience another culture. Just a reminder, Wes is in Dublin today to help launch a new season of action on the Air Sport Pack, which includes every game in the UEFA Champions League and UEFA Europa League live on Virgin Media Sport, which is now part of the Air Sport Pack. Air Sport is also the home of the Rugby World Cup in Ireland. I don't know if you follow Rio Ferdinand on Instagram, but there was a funny little bit during the week where Gary Neville put something up about the team bus, and there was bright lights, and Gary's face looked a little bit like that, and there was the eyes emoji from Rio going, "Oh, you look just like you did on that couch alongside Roy Keane last week."
Yeah. I mean, we pretty much, a lot of the lads follow each other. We're still in a WhatsApp group, to be fair. So we all have a good laugh at it. But I mean,
did Roy's video make it to the WhatsApp group from last week?
Yeah, bits of it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, bits of it, yeah. But listen, I mean, Keane was my captain for many years, and he's that sort of character, so you're going to get something special from him.
Yeah, we had a good night watching it. I don't know what it was like for you guys going,
hang on a second. The thing is, people obviously just dig out certain bits, but when you watch the whole thing, he talks a lot of sense.
Yeah, the whole thing, like, he's charming and funny and looks a bit like a stand-up comedian, like somebody who kind of is capable of, there's 2,500 people in the room at that stage, and he's got them in the palm of his hands. What's that like in the dressing room?
Yeah, I mean, Keane he was brilliant for me. You have to remember, I was coming up. Keane you could always go to him and ask him stuff. He'd be honest with you. In training, he was as tough as nails. It doesn't matter if you were 16, 15, 13, 7. He'd be the same exactly to everyone else, and I think that's why I respected him so much. On the pitch, he would do the same thing. The good thing is, forget about the talking on the pitch. He had your back, and hopefully I tried to have his back as well. And I think that's what part of being a team's all about.
Do you have memories about the time when he's leaving the club that Gary Neville referred to it as horrific, those meetings around that time, and being tense? Is there a sense of tension when something like that's happening, when an iconic captain and an iconic manager are at it like rutting stags?
Yeah, I mean, I have seen it in different scenarios now that I've come to me end of my career, but it wasn't the best atmosphere. You got two big personalities, and it's a shame that they didn't sort it out proper before it happened. But I always say to people, football, that's what happens. Football's football, and certain things happen. You can be the next prospect kid, and then you could get injured the next day. So, you just have to take it how it is. But yeah, it could have been, probably sorted out in a much better way, but you've got two very big personalities there. And
were you, so Neville said he'd never seen anything like it. This is the analysis of the video when Roy's going at Kyrgios and Edwin van der Sar and then Alex Ferguson as well. Yeah. Like a hit list of people. Were you in that room at that stage?
Yeah, I was, yeah. Everyone was in the room. So, I mean, everyone witnessed it, but it is what it is, Like I said, two big personalities. It probably should have been done between them two.
Are you shocked immediately it happens, or are you like...
Listen, you know what Keane's like. Keane is as straight as he come. If he thinks something's wrong, he'll tell you. So I wasn't that shocked, if I'm being honest, but, it's not something that you want to see, every day. But it did happen, yeah, and it's a shame it did.
Did you think that was the end when that happened? That
yeah, probably.
It's not coming back from this.
I mean, the manager's the manager at the end of the day. He's got the respect from everyone as well. He's won all these trophies. He's been fantastic over the years. So yeah, it probably could have been handled a lot better. But like I said, when you've got two big personalities in a room, sometimes that can happen.
There's one other thing I wanted to play you here. This is him talking about the game against Arsenal in the tunnel. This is the famous incident. We can play a video here. Just need to open the door for this as well.
Arsenal lads that time. I wasn't. People look back on my career. I wasn't really into that argy-bargy stuff in the tunnels and threatening people. Honestly, it wasn't my scene. Jesus, listen out. I wasn't, but when I see lads then almost picking on somebody, and I don't mean just on Nev, there was 3 or 4 of them, Martin Keane and people like that. So that probably it was more the bullying than kind of fellas getting stuck into each other on the pitch. I think if you have any argo with people, you bring it out onto the pitch, this tunnel stuff. And the most important thing about that night was, and maybe forgotten about, is that we had to win the game, and we won the game.
You were in the tunnel that day?
Yeah.
What's your recollection of that?
I mean, I don't exactly know what was being said to Nev at the time, because I was behind everyone else. But obviously, Keane must have overheard something, and Keane was very focused when he's going out to play. He's the captain and he's ready to have battle. And I think at the time, him and Vieira have had a lot of battles, but I think he must have overheard something. And, being the captain that he was just sticking up for Nev.
They kicked the crap out of each other in that game. I don't know if you ever watched back on YouTube. They literally...
I watched a few games back, and you could kick a lot of people then and, probably get away with it. It was just a different
Not even
game.
the booking. At one point, Roy literally kicks him up the hole and play gets waved on.
I think they were both doing it to each other, and sometimes you have to respect that, two warriors going at it, and that was that's obviously a famous scene now, that gets played every now and again.
Yeah.
But it just shows the battle from both sides of them, really. I think they were two tough guys who had a lot of respect for each other on the pitch.
And then years later, they kind of made up.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. I mean, they were both fantastic players and captains of the team. And sometimes, Keane sticking up for us and Vieira sticking up for his team. And that's the way it goes.
Which is the best United team you played on?
Oh, it's a good one. I mean, to win what we did in '99, I don't think you can go past that. Even though I think the 08 squad probably had the guys to do that as well, but obviously getting beaten there by Portsmouth, was a big blow for us. But it's so hard to do.
Because I know the 08 squad think they're better than the 99 team.
Yeah, well, if you look at the squad, it's frightening. When you've got, for instance, Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo up front alone, the defence, the midfield, you still got your Scholes, Giggsy in there, your Carricks. it's hard, but at the end of the day, trophies tell you what's happened, and to win the treble, believe me, and the teams we played to get there in '99 were fantastic teams.
You played a good bit more in '08. Like, people would more say that was more your team than the 1999 team.
Yeah, I would, but because I've been in both scenarios.
You're an honest broker then, because I know Rio Ferdinand would be like, no, our team was way better than their team.
Yeah, I can understand it, but I was in both. So from my point of view, to achieve what they did in '99 with the squad they had was much harder to do, and we underachieved in '08.
I have one last question for you. Is it difficult to talk about the team now as a pundit when you know Ole Gunnar Solskjaer so well, when he's a mate of yours? It must be easier when the manager is not somebody who you've worked with or been in dressing rooms with.
I mean, it is what it is. We all watch the games. We all know the last results have not been good enough. We've been playing better, but they've not been good enough. So it has to change at some point.
Are you confident that?
I think it will. I think everyone has to buy into what Ollie's doing, and I think that's what he's hoping for. You can see changes in the way we're playing at the moment and the way we're attacking. If we can...
all that stuff takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. And, the new players, I think have done really well since they've come in. And he'll want more players as well, and probably get rid of more players. But, when you talk about it, that can't happen just in one season.
Yeah, and so that's why... If they've decided that this is their guy, they've got to give him time, irrespective of how bad it gets, to give him the opportunity to grow, because that's what the great managers all had.
I mean, people were saying, obviously, we've let Sanchez go now and Lukaku, but they're not going to play in the team. What's the point of keeping him?
Yeah.
Yes, it's made us short a little bit, but you've got to look forward to the future, and hopefully, if not January next transfer market, we bring in someone else.
Wes, good stuff. Enjoy your time in Dublin. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
All right, we're turning our attention to the All-Ireland football final replay. I'm delighted to say Paddy Christie is with us to talk to us a little bit, specifically, Paddy, about the defensive issues that the Dubs are going to face against Kerry this weekend. Good morning to you. How are you doing?
How's it going, Jerry? How are things?
If you were Jim Gavin, what would you do when it comes to David Clifford this weekend?
Well, I'm a long way from Jim Gavin for a start, Jerry. So just to make that very clear, in the little bit of experience I have, I suppose what I've said to everyone is I just think I would continue on playing him. I would start him, but I just wouldn't start him in that position. I think you're looking for trouble. It'd be a very big call for Jim to stick him back on him. And Johnny is well capable of marking him, by the way, but I just don't see the point of it when you've had that problem the last day. I think you just put him into a different position,
Yeah, that makes sense. It still leaves the issue of what you do with Clifford. Or did Mick Fitzsimons do well enough in the second half that you go, grand, that's your job now, you look after that. We don't expect you to win that battle, but just don't lose it horribly.
Yeah, well, I thought Fitzsimons did well when he moved on to him. I thought he did very well, really, in light of the fact that, there was good ball going in, and Kerry, in patches during the game, were playing quite well. So in the full back line, as I would have known myself over the years, if the team is struggling out the field, it can be very difficult in there. And I thought Fitzsimons did well in that regard, under severe pressure sometimes. So I think, you have to sort of say to yourself, look, we're going to concede a couple of points to this fella. He's a very good player. The worry is, Jared, that in the first 15 minutes he actually missed a lot as well.
Yeah.
So he's capable of doing a lot more damage than what he did. I thought there was one near the end, he dropped short. It was a really bad one, and the first couple I think went wide as well in the first half. So he's not even firing on all cylinders, and yet he was trouble. Very cute as well. So you want a fella with a bit of experience. So I think Fitzsimon's the right fella for him.
Yeah, and funnily enough, he was one of the Kerry players who did have a lot of experience of being in Croke Park on All Ireland final day, given that he was a minor so recently. Now, I don't know how useful that experience was. I don't know if that was nerves in that first 10-15 minutes where he was trying to do too much himself and have a few Hollywood shots, but you've seen him take those before, and they tend to go over. So what would break even be from a Dublin perspective when it comes to Clifford's influence on the replay?
I think if you can keep him to 3 points, I think you'd be happy with that. Any more than that, and it starts creating trouble, particularly if you're not scoring as much up front yourself. So I suppose that therein it lies the problem, in that the other end, Con O'Callaghan and the other boys didn't really fire on all cylinders. So so that you weren't getting as much as you normally get. So for me, if you can keep them to 3 points either end, assuming that the lads will improve up front with Dublin, I think if you can keep Clifford to 3 points either end, you'd be happy with that, you know.
Yeah, okay. One of the things that famously happened after the Donegal defeat, the last time that Dublin were beaten in Championship, was that they developed a brilliant sweeper system, and there was a very bespoke role where Keane O'Sullivan had that job. He doesn't look like he's going to be fit enough for the replay. Do you try and have a sweeper this time as pronounced as it was when Keane O'Sullivan was the de facto designated sweeper, or do you do something different?
I think it's very dangerous, Jared, to start doing that sort of stuff in a once-off game, having not really gone down that track for a while. I suppose if you look at Kerry, like they had, I think wasn't it Paul Murphy sort of tried that in the semi-final, didn't really work. Now, I know it actually worked a bit better this time around when he went back in the second half. I think he sort of tended to be a free role. But I suppose I'd be just wary of somebody just coming in out of nowhere, not necessarily off the bench, but one of your starting 6 men or one of your midfielders or half forwards going back in as a spare man, having not really done it all year. I think it's very dangerous, and it's a little bit easy just to say, actually, just stick somebody back there and he'll mop it up. There's only specific people that can play that role and know how to play. And even if you look at Paul Murphy, he's a fine footballer, but he struggled against Tyrone, and he was sort of non-existent in patches of the game, didn't really have any effect. And McShane did a lot of damage full forward, and he couldn't do anything about it. So I think the idea of just parachuting somebody in there or changing things around just for a once-off game is very, very dangerous, you know. Okay, so if Keane O'Sullivan isn't fit, don't do it. I think that, personally speaking, again, I'm supposed I can only see through my own coloured glasses of being in full back, but I think if people out the field, midfield and the half forward line in particular, are putting severe pressure on people kicking in the ball, that's just as effective as having somebody inside. And Kerry, in fairness, one of the things spoke to Jack O'Shea about there last week, like their kick passing is really, really good, and like in those open spaces, a really good footballer with a good kick pass will take out a sweeper. You know, they'll just put it over him or to the side of him. So there's not a huge benefit unless somebody is really, really top notch. I think you'd be better off with man-on-man battles and putting pressure on people kicking the ball in. You know, a wing forward putting severe pressure on a wing back rather than this idea of just dropping people back. I think that's particularly when it's not really part of your game. I don't think Dublin they did play that before with Keane O'Sullivan, but he's not around obviously for whatever reason. And I think he was a really good guy for doing that, and he knew what he was doing, and he grew into the role. But I think putting somebody in like that is very dangerous, you know. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, and I can see that then you would be asking your half-forward line to make sure that they're as defensively minded as they possibly can be whenever there is breaking ball or whenever there's a ball being kicked into the full-back line. Yeah, so, well, just the kicking in, Jared, just when the ball is being kicked, that people are on top of them, that they're either trying to block him or harry him, or that the kick is just not from a fella who's standing there toe-tapping the ball and can just pick and choose, because to be honest with you, even an average forward is going to win a ball ahead of the back if he has loads of space and the ball is kicked in when he wants it. You know, that's the way it should work. So you have to make sure that you're putting, extreme pressure on those fellas kicking the ball in so they can't get the right type of ball, or the balls have to go into the corner. A low, bad ball into the corner. You can sort of put up with that as a fullback or a cornerback because the fella has a long way to go. The forward has a long way to go to get in. But if somebody has to pinpoint a ball onto a fella's chest, in or around the D there, that's panic stations for anyone in the full back line, you know. Tommy Walsh represents a different challenge from the rest of the Kerry forwards for the Dublin defence. What do you do when Tommy Walsh is on the field? What would you do? Well, I think the go-to man, the last one in the overall plan is James McCarthy. I think went on to him before. I think that happened in the league, and I think he sort of picked him up a bit in the last match. But then again, these matchups that people are talking about, like, I'm not a big believer in them because there's so many changes that happen during a game. There's so many switches, and it's very hard for somebody to be on somebody designated for the whole game. You know, it just doesn't work like that. From my point of view, I would be fearful of him starting. I wouldn't like to see him starting because I think he represents a completely different type of game that you can't be sure if Dublin are ready for that. Like, they haven't really been challenged in that way with a fella under a high ball around the edge of the square. And if it comes off, it's a very hard plan to stop. it can, it can go very bad as well, and that people can hoof ball in and the defence comes flying out with it, and it's a launch pad for Dublin attacks. But if the man wins the ball in or around that danger zone and they start getting scores off it, it's very hard to stop it, Jerry, because a ball being kicked in from 50 yards, how do you stop that? It doesn't even have to be a pinpoint ball. Once it's sort of a diagonal ball, sort of, say, from right half forward into the edge of the square or whatever, you're left under severe pressure, and then the man wins it. You can't really foul him because it could be in around the square, and you saw what happened the last day with balls in around the square if you foul. So that would be a concern for me. I'd hope Jim is going to have a plan for that, and I don't know who he's got designated to sort that out. But I mean, it is a concern for me anyway. It's always been a concern in that other teams, I'm surprised they haven't tried it more often. But in this particular case with this fella, I think, the alarm bell should go off if he comes on or if he starts,
He's a fairly unique athlete, in fairness. That there aren't that many Tommy Walshes around the country who you could kind of bank on with his nous and experience and strength. He's a horse of a man, is how Kieran Donaghy referred to him last week on the show. So I can see why everybody else hasn't had the opportunity to try it. But Dublin have, over the last couple of years, had moments in games where a ball in has resulted in a bit of carnage. You think even Galway got a bit of joy off it, even when Cluxton was in goals a couple of years back. So I can see exactly why Kerry would be looking to do that. Is the answer to that problem, though, the same answer to the problem that they have with good quality ball going into Clifford? Make sure that Niall Scully and Howard and John Small are absolutely preventing any proper ball going in.
But the problem, Jerry, with that one, you're sort of half right. The one we spoke about originally is really quality ball going on top of somebody's chest or bouncing in front of them at an angle in around the D. With this one, it's harder to prevent. I mean, with the best will in the world, how is John Small or Brian Howard meant to stop somebody hoofing a ball? Somebody doesn't have to put much thought into it. Once it's an angle ball at a certain height with a fellow underneath it like Tommy Walsh, it's dangerous, and it's hard to stop that. Now, the only fellas who stopped it I saw before happening properly were Tyrone years ago with Donaghy, actually, because Kerry tried it and they just kept, they put incredible pressure on the kick in. That's the point where they actually couldn't kick the ball in at that angle. But it's very, very difficult to do that. If you think of a wing back and the amount of space that a wing forward has and how open the game is, to stop him being able to just basically lamp a ball in on top of the edge of the square is much harder than the little sort of a tread pass through, So, yeah, they can do it, Jared, but it's going to take an enormous work rate to do something like that. To stop a ball, to basically suffocate them, to stop the ball coming in like that would be an incredible achievement now.
Paddy, do you think we'll see Philly McMahon at some point in this game? It feels like this is an All-Ireland final made for somebody like Philly to come in.
Well, you'd love to see him come in the last 15 minutes and maybe end up in the half-forward line popping a ball over the bar. That's what his trademark has been for a while. On the other end, he has that bit of experience and physicality. Obviously, that you'd hope that if the game was up in the air with a few minutes to go, he'd be the right type of fella to come in. I suppose, Jim is such an embarrassment to riches that these things happen where good players with experience end up not playing, and it's just one of those things. It mightn't necessarily that he's playing poorly in training or that he's not up to it. It just is that the group have been moving fairly well. I mean, they had been moving quite well till that final, and it was a once-off game, and Jim might look and say, look, these fellas are entitled to have a bad day, and we're going to go with the same six again. And then you're looking at bringing Philly off the bench, I think. But I definitely think at some stage, particularly if it gets very physical, I think he'd be the right man for the mix there,
Yeah, a potential marker for Tommy Walsh, given his ability to mark Aidan O'Shea in recent years as well.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not necessarily to clean him out in the air, because with due respect, I don't think he'd be particularly strong in the air, but he is strong. He is physically strong, and if a fella wins the ball in the air and comes down, I think it's going to be very hard to go by him. He's in great shape, and he's a good tackler, disciplined tackler, aggressive, and it's going to be hard to go by him. So he's certainly an option, I think, if things aren't working out.
If you were picking this team, would you make any changes for the replay?
For the Dublin team?
Yeah.
I'd like to think that Mannion and O'Callaghan will improve greatly. I'd be big fans of theirs, particularly O'Callaghan. I think he's a superb player, and I think he just dropped down a couple of notches. But his dropping down a couple of notches is still the equivalent of a 9 out of 10 for a lot of people, you know. Yeah. I mean, he's a really, really good player. All those fellas up front, I would stick with them in the defence. Yes, the full back line were under pressure, but I think they're worth their go again. I mean, midfield, the two lads struggled a little bit as well. I mean, they struggled all over the pitch, and yet they were still in the game and still pushing in the last few minutes. So, I mean, I would give them all a shot. I wouldn't see anyone being an automatic substitute there. I think you'd go with those 15, and then you'd certainly be a little bit quicker maybe to make changes this time, that's all.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Paddy, good stuff this morning. Thanks a million for joining us.
No problem, Jared. Talk to you.
Paddy Christie giving us some thoughts there, former Dublin fullback, of course, at 8:46 this morning. You can see the case being made for not making changes if you're in the selection meeting this week with the Dublin management team going, no, hang on a second, this is the team that has reached this point. Several of them underperformed chronically compared to what they're capable of doing. If they all were to go up 5-6% for the replay, then that's going to be enough to get Dublin through. Now, the other side of that is that, of course, you would expect Kerry to come on for their game. The amount that they come on from the semi-final performance, the amount that they improved in the second half of the semi-final versus the first half of the semi-final is about the same amount they improved from the semi-final to the first game in the final. And so if they repeat that level of improvement for the replay, then I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be making Kerry favourites for this game if they improve as much as that. Let's hear from Mark O'Shea. Here he is talking to Joe last night about how Dublin are going to try and stop David Clifford.
Maybe he needs to, if he probably changed up his tack, like that ball that we keep seeing replayed where he's pulling his hand, maybe if he was playing him from the front, you know, because Clifford isn't going to kill you for pace, but like, you know, if you're out in front of him and the ball is kicked over the top, you have the chance of maybe getting back. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. Fitzsimons certainly did better when he went back on him. Yeah. But I think that, you know, Cooper's a serious player, and you know he obviously got sent off, but I think that he's going to be massive for them in the replay. You know,
Clifford's tall as well. Like, he can catch it over your head. I mean, look.
Yeah, he's very tall.
He's not easy. All the hype for a long time has kind of been justified. He's a serious prospect.
He is. Look, he kicked 4-4 in the minor final.
I was at that one and I thought, my God, yeah.
Obviously, minors and seniors, a different ball game, but like, to kick 4-4. Now, the last day he went out and missed 2 in the first half, then missed 1 in the second half, kicked 2 points from play, had a few frees, won the penalty, and his man gets sent off, and we still think he only played fair. So like, I think there's a huge game in him. We need him to perform for Kerry to win, but look, we need a lot of things to happen. A lot of it went right the last day, but I think a lot more needs to go right, Joe.
All right, so you can get that full thing available wherever you get your podcasts, or of course it's on youtube.com/offtheball. Hit subscribe in the top corner there, and anytime we go live on YouTube, we'll let you know about it as well. Now, let's move on, and we're going to look back at the Electric Ireland minor football final. I'm delighted to say we have the manager of the Cork minor team, Bobby O'Dwyer, on the line with us. Bobby, good morning to you. How you doing?
Good morning, Tommy. All very good, thank you.
It's Ger here, actually. You've had an amazing season where, when you consider where you guys came from in the round robin against Kerry, can you put yourself back how you felt in the immediate aftermath of was it a 16-point defeat in the round robin stage to that Kerry team?
Yeah, not the best feeling in the world at all. Not nice to come out on the wrong side of what was a big shellacking on the night. So that was a dark time for us, because we had to turn around and face Clare in the next round 1 week later. So trying to get a group of young lads of 16 and 17 years of age off the ground to face what was a knockout tie 1 week later, that was a tough one.
How did you do it? What did you say to them?
It was just all about getting the confidence back. We've been with those boys since they were under 14, so we knew their character, we knew what they were made of, and it was just a case of sitting down with them saying, look lads, we haven't become a poor team overnight. This is it. It was do or die, make or break on the day. And in fairness, they went up to Ennis and played Clare in Ennis, and they really stood up. It wasn't the prettiest of games, but it was a game that you just had to get over the line.
One of the things I think about minors is that you can have a bad week, and then the next week they can forget about it in a way that maybe a senior team, it gets into the psyche. They suddenly feel like every defeat is a permanent stain on their record. With minor teams, it's like, okay, that was last week, this week's totally different.
And that's a fair point. Yeah, the young lads don't think this in the same way as the rest of us do. They're very kind of a positive outlook on it. So what happened yesterday is yesterday, and what's happening now is now. So it's all about getting into the now and just getting your head ready to do what you can do. So yeah, they're good lads, and they were very positive, and that's the way they looked at it.
Bobby, the 2018 team, last year's team, had been beaten by Kerry in a Munster semi-final by a single point, and then that Kerry team obviously went on to, did they win their 5 in a row or 6 in a row? I can't even remember. 5, yeah. So like that group obviously, and you guys were in charge of that, so that group obviously had some sense that they were very close to being capable of winning an All-Ireland heading into this season.
Yeah, well, one of the big learnings for us, you mentioned that game in Tralee last year, is that we were a goal down against Kerry going into additional time, and we scored a goal. So we were so excited about getting that goal and getting back to kind of level terms, and that was, I think, 62, 63 minutes gone at that stage. And our boys are out around the field and they were jumping up and down with delight and excitement. And Kerry, I guess, using that little bit of experience that they had, came back up the field and knocked the ball over the bar. And I suppose they won that game then by a point. So if you cast your mind back to the minor final this year, Galway scored a goal in the 62nd minute of the second minute of additional time. And it was something that our lads had practiced quite a lot on, and a lot of work had gone into it just to making sure that in a situation like that you have to be composed under a bit of pressure. And again, I suppose that little bit of experience that we got last year stood for us, and no doubt Galway were delighted to have got that goal, but our guys kept their heads and kept their bit of pressure, and 35, 40 seconds later had the ball in the back of the net on the other side, and that did come from a little bit of experience, you know.
That's class, because we actually wanted to ask you exactly about that, because it was remarked upon in the immediate aftermath of the game that your team don't fall to their knees and start beating the ground. We've seen that happen all the time in sport, everywhere. You think back to the Champions League final in '99, and here you have a goalkeeper, presence of mind to go get the ball in the tee, get it out quickly, and the rest of the team click into a mode of going, hang on a second, they've switched off here, and next thing, the ball is in the net, as you say. One of the most dramatic finales to a minor final that I can remember, but it's mad that you guys had actually worked on it.
Yeah, it was just the experience we got from in Tralee last year, and we've a really good guy working with us, a guy called Barry Corkery, and I guess he was working with the lads a lot around kind of leadership and composure and just good decision making and not losing the head. And look, I don't know what are the little 1%ers that win or lose matches for you, but all of those played into it, and the composure showed by the boys on the day was remarkable. It was just excellent and got us over the line anyway. So
were you calm when Galway scored that goal?
Do I tell the truth?
Yeah, tell us the truth.
It was funny. The one thing, of course, you're disappointed when it happens, and you're looking down towards the Davin end where it happened, and I was looking up at the screen, and I looked at the time, and I saw the time that had gone, and it was all about getting the ball out. I actually didn't think, I genuinely didn't think that the game was gone, because I knew we had 2 minutes or slightly under it to get the ball up the field. And when you have that time, you genuinely do believe, or you have to believe. Where I was under pressure was young Tom O'Connor had a free with about 30 seconds to go down in front of the Cusack stand, and that was pressure, because if the ball had gone over the bar that time, it was game over.
Yeah, which is mad when you think about it too. In fairness to that Galway team, they recover from the hammer blow of conceding a goal at 15 seconds after they think they've won an All-Ireland final to force the opportunity for them to try and win it again. So a roller coaster of emotions in 90 seconds.
It was incredible. It was incredible, and I mean, it's something we got over the line, and we're so happy, and it's been a fantastic a week and a half, 2 weeks since it happened for us here in Cork. But I have no doubt the opposite the opposite is true then for the Galway lads. It's been such a roller coaster of emotions, and look, we're delighted we've got over, but we feel genuinely so sorry for those lads, because look, they're only young lads and they play their heart out, and it's a toss of a coin between two very good teams on the day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's reflected in the Electric Ireland Minor Stars 2019 Football Team of the Year. I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on some of this. So we can put the team up there. 15 players, obviously, 7 counties represented, 4 from the All-Ireland winning team of Cork, and obviously one team with the hashtag #ThisIsMajor. So your four lads were Dara Cashman, Daniel Linehan, Michael O'Neill and Conor Corbett. 5, 6, 11 and 12. What kind of seasons did Dara, Daniel and Michael and Conor have that they ended up being the ones who make this team?
Again, four very, very good players. I suppose as Cork manager, you want all 15 of your players on it, and you want all of your panel there as well. But no, delighted for the four boys. Dara Cashman, superb wing back, played number 5 all year. I think one of the beauties in the All-Ireland final for Dara is that Dara kicked 2 points from right half back. He kicked one with his right leg and one with his left leg. It just goes to show you the level of skill that all of these young men have, and it's great to see. Danny Linehan comes from a small little club in Cork called Castlemagner, and when we were going up to play Mayo in the All-Ireland semi-final, I happened to be sitting talking to Danny, and I was asking him about had he been to Croke Park before, and Danny had never been to Croke Park before. And he proceeded to score as good a goal as you'll ever see in Croke Park from centre back on that day against Mayo. Conor Corbett's picked at 11. We were playing him slightly different throughout the year. Conor Corbett is a special talent. This is the second year with the Cork Miners now, and he's just a terrific guy, our captain, and really led by example. And Michael O'Neill of Buckland, another superb forward. Michael has been very unlucky with injuries this year, so his first game in the championship was in the quarter-final against Monaghan. And he only managed, I think, about 35-40 minutes at that stage, because the leg was just about being held together. So they're four terrific guys, and part of a terrific panel of players here in Cork.
Am I right in saying that this was another Cork team that did have a wide spread of members of the team? So there's been a concerted effort in the background in Cork football over the last decade, I guess, to try and make sure that there were no players slipping through the net who might have been playing junior football.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes people don't realise the size of the county in Cork, and it is a big county, and there's lots of clubs here in Cork. So we saw over 200 young lads this year for trials, and I think it's 26 clubs and 28 schools, or 28 clubs and 26 schools involved in our panel this year. So it takes a lot to pull a full squad together, but we can honestly put our hand in our heart and say that we saw everybody that wanted to come for trials in Cork this year, and we gave every young fella a chance, and irrespective of what junior club or intermediate club or senior club they came from, we put out what we consider to be the top footballers in Cork. Yeah, and I think that's a real indication of the dedication that the football people of Cork have had, and it's been a tough time for you at senior level over the last half decade or so, but the resurgence of this team winning the Electric Ireland Minor Football Championship, it's a real boost for everybody involved in football in the county, and you can't kind of understate the importance to the general football community when a team like this emerges. It's been nothing short of fantastic here in Cork since we came back last Sunday week. We've been out to the schools predominantly with the cups, and it's so heartening to see the young boys and girls coming out wearing their Cork jerseys, going to the various competitions that are on around the place wearing their Cork jerseys, and it's just wonderful for young people to have new heroes. I suppose we've been a little short of football heroes for a little while, and it's just fantastic to see. The under-20s were terrific this year. Keith Ricken and his management team and the players on the under-20s, and they gave the county just so much confidence, and that helped us to slip along with them. And it's just one, like, Cork is a great sporting county, and it's been tough the last couple of years, but there's always good footballers down here, and it's just wonderful to see the bit of confidence and I guess the bit of momentum as well, so it's terrific. Bobby, congratulations, great stuff. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Thanks a million, take care. Bobby O'Dwyer there, the manager of the Cork minor football team, of course, won the Electric Ireland Minor Football Championship. I should have run you through the full team. The Kerry goalkeeper is Devin Burns, the Galway cornerback was Jonathan McGrath, the Mayo fullback was Oisín Tunney, the Monaghan cornerback on the Electric Ireland Minor Star Team of the Year was Ronan Boyle, Tyrone's wing-back was James Donaghy, Mayo's midfielder was Ethan Henry, James McLaughlin from Galway's in midfield, Aaron Brown was the Kildare wing forward, Daniel Cox was the Galway corner forward, Tom O'Callaghan, who had that last minute free to win it, was the Galway full forward, and Dylan Gainey from Kerry, from Dingle, was the other corner forward
on the team of the year, and the 4 representatives from Cork, as we talked about: Derek Cashman, Daniel Linehan, Conor Corbett and Michael O'Neill. Now, let's move on. The Galway footballers are up against Dublin this Sunday in the All-Ireland Women's Football Final. Here's their captain, Tracy Leonard, chatting to Will O'Callaghan.
We're just focusing, I suppose, on our performance here on Sunday. I suppose 60 minutes of football ahead of us. Last 60 minutes, I suppose, of the year. And I suppose, we can only control so much going into this game, so we'll be looking at, I suppose, controlling the controllables.
Fantastic for Galway to be back in an All-Ireland final as well. It's been a long wait to get back into this level again. What's it like to be preparing now for an All-Ireland final this weekend, given it's going to be new to pretty much everybody?
It's exciting times, I suppose. As I said, it hasn't been, we haven't been in Ireland since 2004. But I suppose, we're just kind of, I suppose, focusing on our performance. But there's a great morale, I suppose. It's brought a great morale to Galway, I suppose, with the Camogie being in the All-Ireland final just Sunday gone. And I suppose us this coming Sunday for ladies football and ladies Camogie and ladies sport in general. I think it has really risen the profile, I think, in Galway of where ladies GAA is at. But it's just, these occasions don't come around too often, so I suppose while you're there you have to make the most of them.
Yeah, you got to enjoy it, all right. Cliodhna O'Connor is with us in studio to help preview the game. How are you?
Good.
We kind of predicted, well, you accurately predicted that it was going to be...
You're taking credit for it.
Yeah, no, I'm not. At the same time, we did say that the semi-final was going to be the real final, and that this Dublin team are too strong for what was left. Is that still the case now? As time gets closer, do you suddenly start thinking, actually, I can see reasons why Galway could believe this weekend?
I think there's no reason Galway are going to believe in it. I think they're that type of team, and their management seem to have instilled that with them or in them. Watching them play against Mayo, what stood out to me sitting in the stands, they've some beautiful footballers, really high skill sets, all of that lovely stuff to watch. But the weakness, in my opinion, is tactically they're a little bit naive. I think they like to go forward. There was a lot of running, which made it very entertaining to watch. But I think Dublin will be tactically more astute and will be able to manage that quite well.
Why are Galway so tactically naive? What is it about them that...
I think it's the style that they play. They want to play open, attacking football, which is great, and we all love to see it. And they did get some exceptional scores, but they commit a lot of people forward. They run off the shoulder. They go in groups, so it works going forward. But the problem is then coming back. I found that while they got people behind the ball, sometimes they were back and there might be 10 people behind the ball, but nobody was making a tackle, nobody was making an interception. So they were letting Mayo take shots when there was enough people back there to close them down and to intercept.
Fix that? Can you, if you're spotting that, then they're spotting that too, you would assume.
Yeah.
They're watching the video going, oof. Can you fix that from the semi-final to the final?
I think you can, because if you... A simple thing, like if you look back at a video and you see, right, well, Mayo are on the attack and they're there and they're inside the 45, or they're in what you would think would be a scoring zone, and we're all standing there but we're not actually making a tackle or we're not actually doing anything, then you have to, why are you back there?
Yeah.
What are you contributing? And I suppose going forward then, there is, from the other point of view, while it's aggressive and it's fast-paced and it's ambitious attacking, from a Dublin point of view, if you just stop that momentum early on, further up the pitch, don't let them build momentum, then what are they going to do if they rely on that momentum to create their attacks?
So you make you press?
You press higher, you get your half-forwards to work harder. Like their full-back, one of the Ward sisters, she ran from full-back numerous times, straight up the middle of the pitch. Fabulous to watch, very athletic, requires great fitness. But she was let do it. If you cut that out immediately and just don't let her do that, then all of a sudden that whole threat is taken away.
Okay. Do they have anything else, apart from the athleticism and the rampaging defenders adding extra numbers to attack?
Well, they're highly skilled players. So if you let them play, they will play and they'll beat you. So that's the key thing. So they have the ability to play if they're let play their own game. I would question whether they have a plan B.
Right. Dublin don't seem like a particularly claustrophobic team, though. They seem like they will allow the opposition to play a bit, right?
I suppose they don't play that. We have to shut them down and we have to make all the spaces small and all that. But I think they are good at sort of one-on-one battles. And let's say part of maybe the full forwards job or whoever's marking those defenders who are more likely to run, part of their job, yes, you've got an obligation to score and get scores on the board, but also part of your job now is going to be to limit what that defender can do. So taking it down to that detail and that specificity of role on the pitch is going to be key. Like if Dublin just presume, we'll just play our game and it'll be grand, it won't be grand.
Yeah.
You know, they definitely need to be very particular in their tactics about how to beat this Galway team, because not a lot of ladies footballer teams play like this.
They seem unusual in that they're quite cavalier in their attitude.
Yeah.
We've got tickets to give away for the game this weekend. Yeah, just share the show wherever you're watching OTBM this morning. Tell us which team did Dublin beat in the 2018 Women's All-Ireland Football Final. And we have 2 pairs of tickets to give away to the All-Ireland Ladies Football Final on Sunday afternoon. Is it a bit of a pain that the replay's the day before, just in terms of build-up and...
Well, from a Dublin perspective, it's a very exciting weekend.
Yeah.
You know, we've 2 big games, and I think it could build for our momentum. I still think that the ladies' game is getting a lot of coverage. People are genuinely interested in talking about it now. So I think it makes for a great GAA weekend. I don't know what it will do to attendances. You don't really know.
Yeah.
To me personally, it makes it better. It's just a big weekend of sport.
Yeah. So you don't feel like it's been overshadowed?
I haven't
that the week's build-up has been somehow damaged?
I don't think so. Part of it is due as well to the silence maybe coming out of the men's Dublin and Kerry camps. You know, they're saying, so there was a lot of analysis early in the week. It's kind of simmered down a little bit now. Everyone's given their opinion, so there's space now for our previews, I think.
It's true. There hasn't been anything that has been unsaid about the men's game yet.
Yes, exactly.
Mick Bowen's been a bit annoyed by the fact that everybody says that his team are dominating women's football at the minute. There's been a few comments recently saying Sarah Rowe was talking about the gulf getting bigger and bigger over the next couple of years, Dublin's dominance. You can tell they have a bit more than every other county, and it seems to be very professional. It's true, right? The Dubs have got a process in place that is getting the best out of their available players, and this happens in lots of sports where a dominant team becomes dominant.
Yeah, well, Cork won 10 or 11 All-Irelands, you know, and so Cork ladies did that. Dublin seem to have this process in place, and a system, and Mick is big in that, in creating a system that's sustainable and will continue to develop. They're not unbeatable, they're not going to win forever. I don't see what's wrong with it, to be honest with you. I think Mick has put really good human resources, they've got a lot of past players involved, all of that, so trying to create a better environment and all those words people use, culture and system, around the Dublin ladies football. I think it's raising the standards, and I think that needs to happen. I think there's 3 or 4 teams that are doing the same thing and are striving for the same way.
Yeah, they need good rivals over the next couple of years, and it looks like Cork are right there.
Cork are there, Mayo are thereabouts. We'll see what Galway have. You know, Donegal have been thereabouts the last couple of years, never really broken through. But to be honest, I do see the top 3 or 4 are pushing. I would agree that the gap then to the next tier is problematic.
Yeah.
And if Meads don't win on Sunday in the intermediate, Dublin are now the only senior team in Leinster. So, like when I was playing, going out to play games, you would fear Laois, you would fear Kildare, you'd fear Meath, you'd fear Kerry, you know, Monaghan, all these different teams. Now, as an outsider looking at Dublin, I would say there's only 3 or 4 teams they really need to fear.
Yeah.
So the gap is an issue.
Which isn't great for the rest of the sport, and it's nothing to do with like Dublin getting their house in order. The rest of the sport needs to get their houses in order, and that sometimes requires great work at individual county level, but it does also require a strong central organisation saying, okay, we can't just have 3 teams be good for the next decade, especially as the sport is primed for a breakout.
I think so. I think it does require sort of proactive development, and I've mentioned this before about because there's such discrepancy in standard in ladies football, there isn't a one-size-fits-all model nationally that if we roll this out, that this will work for everybody and improve the inter-county game. Each province is going to have to look at their system. If we're sticking with that provincial system, what works in a Carlow or an Offaly will be very different to what works in a Monaghan or a Mayo. You know, so we'd have to sort of do needs analysis nearly and see what needs to happen in each particular area. Where is it falling down? Because a one-size-fits-all just will not work. Some counties it's a club issue, the club structure is poor. Some counties, it's the inter-county system that isn't working. The clubs are flying it, but they can't transfer that into an inter-county system.
Is there a needs analysis going on? Is that type of stuff happening?
Yeah, there is a shift at national level in terms of games development. The staff is growing, the vision is changing. It's like anything in the GAA, and I suppose it's frustrating when you're outside of it because you think it's so simple. And I'm sitting here saying, just do this. But it's getting bigger. It's getting harder to move things along. It's I suppose when you're working nationally, sometimes you're trying to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
And that can slow you down because it's not possible to keep everybody happy. But
you're trying to bring people along with you when actually what you need is sometimes to break things and reset.
Yeah, you do need a bit of a reset. But there is a shift in vision at national level, I believe. We just need to make sure we keep going after it and be ambitious about it.
Okay, just to go back to the game itself, Nicole Owens has been ruled out through injury. Is that confirmed?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, she is, yeah, which is disappointing for Nicole, and she did try to do everything she could for that semi-final, but I suppose as an athlete, that's the risk you take. She tried to play, it didn't work, and that's really unfortunate how her year has ended.
Do they have enough strength and depth to be able to do it? I mean, obviously they did in the semi-final, so you would assume they will.
I think so. I think it'll be interesting to see who takes her place. So Una White came on and did very well. I thought Jennifer Dunn, when she came on in the second half, was exceptional. So there is the Cliodhna O'Connor who got the goal. So there are a lot of people. It'll be interesting to see what Mick does with Cliodhna O'Connor. You know, she's a young player, came on, scored a great goal. So it's that I suppose, dilemma of, do you take someone who's young and green and throw them in the deep end, or do you just give them a little taste over time and let them develop? Ladies football usually, once there's any sort of potential, we throw them in and they become a star at 19, and sometimes maybe that's not the best way long term for the athlete, but we'll see.
Yeah, and look, I totally understand that. Mind you, having said that, it seems like they've been quite good about managing the success that they've had in recent seasons, that actually, you know, these players have got used to and haven't allowed it to go to their heads and have actually got the benefit of being successful.
I think that is a critical piece that has happened over the last couple of years, and I would be as critical as anybody on that front of a team, and I've been very impressed with how they've managed that. And I suppose their success has also come at a time where, like, the sport in general is getting more attention. They're getting more attention as players, etc. So couple their success with the general attention.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for, if it's mismanaged, a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Which I think Mick has done a good job, and the rest of his team, at keeping people's feet on the ground and not letting that become a distraction.
Yeah, no, in fairness, they've been great ambassadors for a sport that is actually breaking out and crossing into the mainstream.
Yeah, because that can really be an issue for people, because there's an obligation, maybe, well, I have to do all this stuff and I have to put myself out there and I have to be an ambassador for everything, for anybody that asks, you know. And
it's true.
Right.
They seem to embrace that element of it, though, instead of seeing that as a burden, it's been like an opportunity as opposed to anything else.
Yeah, but the players have been given support in that.
Right.
You know, and some people say, oh, they're taking it too serious. They all have to go through the same person, and if you want them to do these things, you have to. Which people say, well, you know, is that a bit over the top? But if you didn't do that, you're putting players in a position where they have to manage this stuff that they've no experience managing, and all of a sudden they find themselves being asked questions or being in places where they're not really sure how to do it. So I think giving them the support, like, this is how you learn how to do that stuff, is the right way to go about it.
Yeah,
like, they're sports people, they're not.
It's true, right? The only other the other edge of that sword is that sometimes they become pre-programmed in the way that other teams have become pre-programmed in their dealings with the media, and it's rubbish. And there's a chance for this sport to go, we're going to be open, we're going to talk about stuff, and we're going to be real people, as opposed to going to take each game and its merits, you know,
game of two halves,
stick
and
as a
we'll
parrot.
see what happens.
So, like,
well, I would agree. I think if you lose that authenticity of the person, that's problematic. And I mean, sport is sport, and sport is about emotion and all that, and I suppose knowing when it's okay to show that, you know, if you've just won the All-Ireland or whatever, let's see a bit of emotion, and let's see when you're out on the pitch, you don't have to be, you can take that emotion out of it, but let's not lose the fact that you're playing because you love this sport.
Exactly.
So, and it's okay to show that.
Yeah,
it's not a weakness if you show it.
100%. And maybe I'm in a minority, but when there was that bit of needle before the Camogie final a couple of years back, I love that. That was like, this matters to us.
Yeah.
You know, like, come on, that's all good stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you have to follow the model of, we can't give anything away. And
we took that from Premier League football.
Yes.
And is Premier League football really the thing that we want to decide?
We want to follow,
we don't.
I think it's different in GAA as well, because there's a closeness to players because of the way we're set up. So you have all these elite players play in our clubs and our communities, so we do feel a little bit more connected to them. So when they move to that sort of aloof, just blank faces, we get a bit frustrated. Like, well, I know you, I've met you at the corner shop, and I know that is not really your true self. So it does get frustrating, and I think that we don't have to follow the men's model in terms of how we manage that piece, but we do have to give players support.
No, that's a perfect balance. Right, Cliodhna, good stuff. I presume you're predicting a Dublin victory at this stage?
I am predicting a Dublin victory, but I hope that Galway use all the really good things that they have, but maybe manage their tactics a little bit better, and then it will be a fantastic game of football.
Okay, with goals at both ends? I think that's a safe prediction.
Yeah, I think so.
Cliodhna, good stuff. Enjoy. Thanks a million.
Thanks.
Cliodhna O'Connor with us this morning, 16 minutes past 9 here on OTB AM. We're going to get Phil and Tom Malone in to talk about the big racing story overnight after these.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
The 2019 Boyle Sports World Grand Prix Darts is back at the City West Convention Centre, Dublin, from the 6th to the 12th of October. See 32 of the biggest darting stars on the planet, including world number 1 Michael Van Gerwen, former Grand Prix champion Darrell Gurney, plus fan favourite Peter Wright. Get your tickets now at ticketmaster.ie and search darts. The 2019 Boyle Sports World Grand Prix Darts at City West. Game on.
Rugby season is back, and Lifestyle Sports is giving you the chance to win something very special.
The ultimate rugby year for you and 3 mates.
You could be headed to the Champions Cup final,
the Pro 14 final,
interprovincial games of your choice,
and get match day ready with kit bags full of jerseys,
new season training gear,
€400 in vouchers, and more.
Check out lifestylesports.com.
Lifestyle Sports Rugby on Insta,
or buy any jersey in store or online for a chance to win.
Live rugby with Lifestyle Sports.
OTB AM.
This could be the greatest night of your lives. I guarantee you, a week won't go by when you won't regret walking out, letting them get the better of you.
Believe! Well, we're not going home without Sam. We've come too far, so you're going to get back up there and fight.
The day may come where the courage of man fails, but it is not this day.
Believe.
Tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the preservation of fire.
Believe. And they will hear the voice of the kingdom.
Believe.
We can beat this blue army,
but we must draw a line here, this far and no further. I say to you what every warrior has known since the beginning of time. You've got to get mad. I mean plumb mad dog mean.
Believe.
If you would be free men, then you must fight. Fulfill that promise.
Believe.
Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished.
Believe.
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 Let no dub forget how menacing you are.
Believe.
You were born for this.
Believe.
And this is your time.
Believe.
Seize the day.
Believe.
Never surrender.
Believe.
Victory or death.
Of the kingdom down the dark.
System shutting down.
System shutting down. Well, what do you think? Are you quaking your boots?